Hi everyone, I'm Kat and welcome to my channel, Naturally Beautiful Girl. So today I'm doing what is probably an anticipated review of the Ilia True Serum Foundation. And this is their new foundation. They launched it a couple weeks to a month ago, somewhere around in that range. I wanted to use it for a while so I could really get a feel of how I liked it before I went ahead and did this review, so that's why there's been a little bit of time and it hasn't been super fast. I want to first start off by showing you me applying the foundation so you can really get an idea of how it applies and also of the coverage it gives. So as you can see when I'm applying it, that it does give a pretty decent coverage. It's not the best coverage, it's not a full coverage foundation. It's not like the 100% pure healthy foundation. That is probably the most full coverage foundation I have found in Green and Eco Beauty. But I find that this Ilia foundation does give more coverage than something like the Fitglow Vita Active foundation. Yeah, I'd say it's a medium coverage foundation, at least given how I kind of rank foundations in my head. I do apply this with a brush. I really have gotten into applying all of my foundations with a brush. I just find that as someone with oily skin, that for some reason applying foundations with a brush just works better for me. I think I get better coverage. And I just like how it looks when it's applied with a brush. The one thing with this foundation is sometimes when I'm applying it, I can see brush strokes in it, but I found a weird tip that works to get rid of the brush strokes. If you let the foundation dry for like a minute and then go in with your brush again and kind of blend a little bit more, you can get rid of the brush strokes. For some reason, when it's still very wet and very liquidy, it can have more brush strokes in it, but as it starts drying, it's easier to get rid of the brush strokes. I don't know why. And the shade that I have is Frontera SF1, and this is in fact the lightest shade of foundation. And as you can see, it's a pretty good match for me, like maybe a smidge dark, but it does work pretty well, especially if I blend down my neck and blend, back towards my ears and all that. I can't get it to work. Reagan from Indie Boo also uses this shade, and she and I are very, very similar in terms of skin tone, so I normally find whatever shade works for her works for me, and that was true with this foundation. So you can, if you are really fair, porcelain skinned like I am, you can make the shade Frontera, which is SF1, work. The Ilia foundation comes in this glass bottle. It's like a frosted glass bottle, and it does have a pump, which I really enjoy. Although I do have to say, don't be like me. I couldn't get the cap off of this, and I didn't realize for some reason that it was a pump. Like, I'd seen people use this foundation in videos, but it didn't click for a minute that it was a pump. Sometimes, I don't know, sometimes I feel like my brain just doesn't work properly. I accidentally unscrewed it, and because I thought for some reason it was gonna be like a doe foot applicator or something. And don't do that because that made a really big mess. So you can just pull off the cap and then it's a pump. It does say to shake well, so do make sure you are shaking this foundation prior to using it. And I do have to say, I really like this foundation. I'm really surprised by how much I like it, because the few people I'd heard talk about it had said kind of mixed things about it. Reagan, she wasn't like in love with it. Jenna Catherine also recently did a review and she wasn't in love with it either. And then I started thinking that it may very well be my skin type of why I like this foundation so much. They both don't have oily skin and I do, so I think that's part of why I like this. And this is a more dewy foundation. It's not matte, but it's not like as creamy or dewy as the Au Naturale stick foundation. It doesn't dry down matte, but it's not super dewy, and I really like that. And it's not a heavy foundation either. Like, I don't feel it sitting on my skin. And I love the Au Naturale stick foundation, but if you've noticed in the description bar of my videos and on my Instagram, I've started moving away towards wearing that foundation. And it's not that I don't love it, it is because the seasons are changing, and I find it right now to be a little bit too heavy on my skin because I do have oily skin. It works really well for the winter, but now that I'm moving into spring and summer, allegedly, although I'm still wearing long sleeves, I find that it's a little bit too heavy and a little bit too dewy. So I really like a foundation like this, where it definitely is not a pure matte foundation, but it's not as dewy. And one of the things I like about it is the coverage is pretty good. Like I said, it's not full coverage, but it gives me more coverage than the Fitglow Vita Active foundation. So if you want a little bit more coverage, I really like how this wears on my skin throughout the day. And that is always something that's really important to me. As someone with oily skin, all foundations break down on me throughout the day. However, there are some that break down less and there are some that break down more. And this foundation wears really well on my skin throughout the day. It is becoming the foundation that when I know I have a long day, I reach for this one to wear. So say I'm going and working all day and then going out to dinner with friends late in the evening. I now wear this foundation because I know that it's gonna look really great. And I do get oily and it does break apart a little bit. And honestly, all I need to do is just use some blotting paper like my Couture blotting sheets and grab my brush that I use to apply some powder and just kind of blend everything out a little bit and I am good to go. Like that is all I need to do. It looks great. And that's another tip I have too. I always set my foundations and I set this one because it is not a perfectly matte foundation, but I even set my matte foundations just because I'm oily. And when I set it, it really does help everything stay in place and it also builds up the coverage. So I do have some acne spots right around in here. At first I was like, I don't want to film today because I have some acne spots, but then I was like, wait a minute, you guys know I have acne prone skin. This is a great way for you to see how the foundation works and how much coverage it gives, because I have some active spots and you can see how it covers those. So you can see that in the video. And then what I do if I find, which I do, that these need a little bit more coverage is I go in with my Hint Beauty Duet Concealer. I go ahead and set with some sort of face powder, be it the Alima Pure Satin Matte Foundation or the Naturale powder foundation, something like that to kind of lock everything in place and give me a little bit more coverage. And another thing about this foundation, I know that Jenna Catherine said that it settled into her fine lines. I do have some fine lines on my forehead, which, I mean, no one really wants to have fine lines on their forehead, especially because I'm only 25. But I'm starting to see like a little bit of line. And for me, this foundation actually settles less into those fine lines than other foundations that I've used. Like I find it is much less prone to settling, especially if I go ahead and set it. So once again, it might just be my skin type because my skin is more oily that this foundation really sits well on my skin and doesn't settle into fine lines. I know that Jenna has drier skin, so maybe that is the issue. So overall, I really do like this foundation. I'm trying to rank my foundations. I'd say the Au Naturale Cream Stick Foundation is probably, I would say it's my favorite like winter foundation, so fall winter. But I think this one may actually become my favorite spring summer. I like it a little bit better than the Vita Active Fitglow foundation. I find I like the coverage a little better because it is a little bit higher in coverage. And I find that it just wears on my skin a little bit better throughout the day. It just looks better. My skin is a little bit less oily at the end of the day and the foundation doesn't break apart quite as much. So overall, I really do recommend this. The other nice thing about this foundation is it is an easier one to find because Ilia is actually, I'd say it's one of the more mainstream green and eco beauty brands. So you can pick it up at Credo. You can actually find it on Sephora's website as well. Really, a lot of places carry Ilia, which I think is really nice and it makes it more accessible. Also, I was so kind of impressed by the Ilia foundation that I've gone ahead and started picking up a few more Ilia products because I really hadn't tried much from Ilia. I had one of their lip tints, I believe that's what they're called, in Arabian Nights. And that was it. Like I really had not extensively tried out the brand, so I have picked up some more products to try. In fact, today I'm wearing one of their lip crayons, I believe that's what they're called, and I have this one in the shade Dress You Up on. So I am playing around with some more of their makeup. If you'd like me to do kind of a, I mean, it wouldn't be a fully comprehensive Ilia review because they have a lot of products and I can't pick them all up. But if you'd like me to kind of do a review overall of how I like Ilia and talk about their lip products, etc., let me know that in the comment section down below and I would be happy to do that. If you have any questions about this foundation, please leave those for me in the comment section down below and I will do my best to answer them. But overall, what I think is that if you have my skin type, which is kind of oily skin, this foundation does work really well if you are looking for something that's just not a matte foundation. I don't really have dry spots, so I don't know how it would cling to dry spots or not, but I really do think this could work for a lot of different skin types. I just find that it works particularly well for me. So if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Also check out my Instagram. I'll have my handle down below. I'm at naturallybeautifulgirl. And once again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!